Spring is in the air at Global Voice Broadcasting. Fresh new shows are hitting the airwaves every day. Shows about all the things that matter to you in your life. Music, fashion, celebs, and more. It's all here, and it's getting better every day. Only at Global Voice Broadcasting.
I highly recommend Ms. Hicks. Her books, her CDs are encouraging.
I bought her book, A Hill to Climb. She's a very inspirational speaker.
And I look forward to one day being able to work with her.
Your power lies within you. Let it loose.
Aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, determination. These are the keys of life success, brought to you by none other than award-winning author, motivational lecturer, business consultant, and much more, as she gets you aimed to your purpose. And now, ladies and gentlemen, young and elder, from Hollywood to the entire world, here is your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, Louise Hicks, along with her co-host, yours truly, Kennon Wesley Mason.
Hello, world. How's everybody today? Thank you all for joining us. We're happy to have you here today, and we have an awesome, dynamic guest with us today, Bryan Steel, where we are Skyping all the way in from the UK. And we're glad to have you. Again, I am Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show.
And I am your co-host, Kennon Mason, and we are going across the water again today, going back to the United Kingdom, Great Britain. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And today we don't have with us Robert Snell, our sports therapy, and Shamika Brown, our news and entertainment commentator. So
Yes.
we're going to just jump right into the show and hope you all had a great weekend. And we're just going to talk to our special guest. We're going to introduce him. And then we'll just start talking about our topic for today, which is 5 steps to succeed.
Yes, with Bryan Steel. And just a little introduction about Bryan, double Olympic medalist. Bryan Steel was a member of the groundbreaking British cycling team who helped develop a program which accelerated the team from a world ranking 17th to first in just 8 years. Using the techniques, processes, and experiences he learned as a member of this groundbreaking team, Bryan, along with his colleagues, has developed a range of fun, interactive, and insightful programs showing you exactly how they achieved this amazing achievement. As a speaker, Bryan's motivational and inspiring talks are suitable for a variety of audiences ranging from the boardroom to the school theater. As a facilitator, Bryan has developed a range of fun and interactive workshops for education, sport, business, and personal development using his experience, knowledge, and unique insight of how a member of the British cycling team works. As a coach, Bryan uses the latest techniques, process, and experiences of being a member of the groundbreaking British cycling team to support you in achieving your own success. So let's give a warm, Aim to Purpose welcome to our special guest today, Mr. Bryan Steel.
Hello, Bryan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and thank you for coming on the show today to share with us your 5 steps to succeed. And it's great what you're doing, and I love the Olympics. I watch them, and I know you going from the Olympics and going into your own business and sharing with others. You're doing speaking engagements. I understand you just had a speaking engagement. Share a little bit about that with us, and then we're going to get into these steps, your speaking engagements, and what you inspire people to really, how you're helping them to transform their lives.
Well, just really my speaking engagements talk about people about my career pathway. I class myself as not really a sporty young person. I hated sports as a young person and wasn't very well behaved. And when I go into schools and work with young people, talk about them, and everybody has a talent, but they need to take the opportunities and believe in themselves so they can look for that opportunity. Myself, I only started cycling because my brother started, and as I said, I wasn't very well behaved, so I had to go and watch him race every weekend. And my dad bought me a bike and said, give it a go. And I won't say on air what I said to my dad. It wasn't very polite, but from that, I had to give it a go. And within 3 years, I was on the national Great Britain team. And 4 years after that, at the age of 21, I went to my first Olympic Games, my first of four. And just really talk to people about that pathway. I feel very important to not to stand there with 2 Olympic medals, say how great I am. It's more that I'm a human being. I'm just a normal person. But through these 5 steps in my life and my pathway, I've been able to turn what I would say is a normal person into a high-performing athlete and able to help other people to do that.
Gosh, that's great. That's really great, because I in reading some of the things that you've done, and it's interesting how you took this groundbreaking British cycling team and brought it from number 17 to number 1 in just 8 years. I mean, that's an amazing story to transform. Like you said, you're taking people that don't even realize they have these talents, and you are utilizing your skills in business to help them, and you're going into the schools and helping the students to understand. What age levels are these students, by the way?
It's generally talks. We go from primary here, which is from about 7 upwards. Actual workshops we only deliver in secondary, so 11 upwards. But just really to work with young people and to say, you have a talent, give them some skills to go and look for their talent. But then once they've done that, is to really focus in and commit to their future and what they're going to do. It's a whole range, really. We work with some higher education establishments as well for people who have gone into college. In the UK, there's a bit of a problem. It's been advertised people going into higher education as instead of a career pathway. And just really quite a lot of people are in colleges now thinking, well, I'm just here, I don't really know what I'm doing. So we go in and work with them, say, actually, what is the point of this? Why are you going in there? What's your long-term aspirations? And then being able to break it down into small, achievable chunks so people understand that what I do today makes a massive impact in the future, and understand that pathway as well.
That's great, and when you say those age limits, that is awesome, because we know we should start out at an early age to help young people to learn. And when you said 7, I said, wow, that's so great, because we had an athlete on here from Canada last one, and she started, I believe, 4 or 5 years old swimming, and she's the youngest person now to cross Lake Ontario, breaking records of the last person that did it back in 1954, I believe it was. And now she's only 17, and she's going to be going to, I believe, Australia. So it's amazing how when we start out so young with the young people, how you can inspire them. Because I had a book signing this weekend, and my one and only grandchild, her mother brought her there, and here she is pointing to my name on the book, because I've been reading to her and sharing with her, and she's only 8 months old. So it's amazing what happens when we turn these young people on to help them at such an early age, how they can achieve their dreams. It's awesome.
I think it's really important. It's when speaking in front of a whole school, I usually finish saying that everybody in the room has a talent. It doesn't matter if they want to be a professional athlete. It doesn't matter if they want to be a singer, a bricklayer, a doctor, a nurse. There's so many opportunities, and get young people to think about that, because if those people aren't in that room, then we've got lots of trouble, really. So they are there, and just really for them to think about that, and to say, actually, well, yeah, I would love to do this and love to do that, but then give them the skills to make the most of that. And like the key life skills, really. I came out of school not enjoying education in the UK, and and but didn't have any education. But my parents always said to me, you need a degree in life, and I feel that's what cycling's given me, and hopefully I can give back in some way in the work I do with young people now.
Cycling gave you your degree. I like that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Cycling gave you your degree. And that's what we need to realize. You don't have to have that formal degree to get a degree and to be educated. And your parents taught you well. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's what we teach. You know, it's important. And in the UK, as I said, a lot of people are passing exams and stuff, but, you know, come out of universities or college and just like, what now? And that's what we aim to do and help to do with people. And also people in later life, in businesses, you know, the businesses we work with, to get a certain point and probably been there by luck or opportunities and stuff, and then at that point they really need to start developing and working. And, you know, as companies expand, we do a lot of work with team development, of understanding who's in that group, who's in the team, what's needed to be added to that team, and more importantly, what's their roles in there to be more effective and grow even bigger.
Great. And we're going to start sharing those steps that you talk about, how you help others to transform and realize through their skills. And that first step is set out your vision and develop a phased plan. And we have that on the screen here, is set out your vision and develop a phased plan. So as we go through each one of these 5 steps, we're going to show them on the screen, and we want you to elaborate and tell us about how you get one to set out their vision and how you get them to develop that phase plan, and what does that really mean?
Well, when we was in the British cycling team, I remember returning from my second of 4 Olympics, and that's when Dave Brailsford came on board with British cycling. A lot of things changed under Dave. But he actually sat us down, and everybody we had a one-to-one meeting with Dave, and his first question was, well, where do you see in the UK everything's in a 4-year cycle regarding funding? So he says, well, where did you see yourself at the next Olympic Games? What is your vision for the next Olympic Games? And every person who didn't say on the Olympic podium was basically sacked or as good as. Because Dave said, you know, if you've not got that vision, he can't help you. You know, if you've not got that vision of, you know, this is what I'm here to do, and nothing else would matter. It was really important, and understanding after my career is actually I didn't have a vision until then. You know, I was just doing everything day in, day out, and just really working for the now and not that long-term future. So when we go into businesses, we actually work with business and actually get them to create a vision. And which is interesting because we go in and we get the boss to write in an envelope his vision, and then we put in an envelope, and he either takes part or leaves. But during the day and during the workshop, we get the whole group to come up with a vision, a group vision, as in it's not just the boss telling you what to do. We're going to do this together, and that's what Dave taught us to do. Is, you know, you can stand there saying this is what we're going to do, but over a process of about a couple of months, we sat down and said, this is our vision at the next Olympic Games in 4 years' time. We're going to be a 3rd place. You know, that's our goal. We was realistic. We knew we could get that. You know, and that's a huge jump from 17th in the world to 3rd in the world. But what we do with businesses is actually everybody. And at the end of the day, we read out what the boss's vision is. And 9 times out of 10, it's very, very similar. And 99% of the times the bosses turn around and says, well, it's similar. And even if it's different, he appreciates, well, they appreciate. Actually, that's a group decision. You know everybody's going to buy into that as a group vision as opposed to just one person telling you. So that's what we do in that phase, is get everybody to sit down and explore, do topics, do a lot of engagement work. And by the end of the day, this is our vision, this is our mission statement as such for 4, 5, 6 years' time, is we're going to achieve this. And by the end, everybody's bought into that. And obviously everybody's motivated, inspired to work towards a common cause.
Before we go on to the very next, the next of the steps, I just want to read off some of your accolades, if I may, because it'll segue into the next one. 4-time Olympian, 2 consecutive Olympic Games. Which Olympic Games were those? What years were those?
I went to the 90. It makes me sound old now. 92 Olympics in Barcelona.
Barcelona, yes.
I went to the Atlanta Olympics in 96.
Oh, wow.
I won my first medal in Sydney in the 2000 Olympics, which was a bronze medal. And then in Athens in 2004, I won my silver medal.
Wow. 14 world championships and 5-time medalist. And this is how Bryan Steel earned his degree. It doesn't matter what you choose to go into. It's to understand the process of working effectively. Working effectively will bring you certain results, as it's done for him. So explain this, the next step, understand the process of working effectively.
Yeah, what we did with I got my Olympic and world medals in an event called the Team Pursue, which is a 4-man event going around the velodrome. And it's very much as for people. Before we worked with Dave, it's really 4 people doing the same thing. But what we did was actually broke down, and actually the 4 people have to do 4 very individual jobs. From some guys, his job is to get you up to speed. Some guys are there to hold the speed. Some guys are there to put more speed in. So we work very hard of actually what is that process? What is man 1's job, man 2, man 3, man 4, and understanding what everybody's roles. One of the biggest questions I always get was when you sat on the Olympic start line and then they're telling you they give you a 60-second countdown, is, are you nervous? Well, no, because I know whatever position I'm sat on that team, if it's 1 to 4, I know what my job is.
Right.
So what we understood, what we learned was actually what's the process for each other's roles within there. And all I'm really focused on is I know my job. You know, if my best position actually won most of my medals in man 3. I know what that job is, and so I'm focused on exactly what I can control, which is get my job done. And our coach used to say as he stepped off the track before just get your job done, guys, and understand that actually is a process in there, what we need to do at what points. And by that, when we go into business, we get everybody to think about actually where, for example, we work with some sales teams or some designs teams. Actually, well, what is the first process of that? And what's the second, third, fourth? And we build what we call our process wheel, where we go from the start to the finish of understanding where everything fits at what time and what things need to be done at what points. Everybody understands what stage they're at in that process, and understanding if the process gets broken, then we can not put a blame culture in there, but understand and learn that actually, well, that process was broken. We know what point it was broken, and then we can actually identify that actually next time we'll do something different, or we need to add something into that process, or maybe even take something of that process away.
That's right. That means that everyone on the team, all 4 of you, have specific individual roles, and there's a trust factor. It has to be a trust factor. You can't go in thinking, does your partner know what he has to do? You have to have a trust that they already know what they have to do. So all of you work in tandem.
Yeah, and by that, everybody is then focused on that one thing. And the good thing about, especially within British cycling and within businesses, is everybody then in a way scatters. Everybody does their roles. Everybody works on their roles.
Right.
What we found within the cycling world is actually my training changed quite radically for what position I was going to be lining up with. So then actually people are away. Not everybody's micromanaging. Everybody's doing their jobs. Everybody knows what that is. Everybody knows where that fits in the process. And by that is everybody then is working a lot more effectively, using their time more wisely.
And that makes a huge difference too, Bryan, what you're saying when you understand the process in any business. Like you're taking what you learned, your Olympic education, and you are applying it, because we can do that. We can apply it to any business, actually, because we did a show on Hollywood 101, and I had some actors here, and they brought to us how sometimes we think just because you're going into acting, you don't need to understand business, but you really do. And you're bringing some dynamic points here because teamwork, as they say, is really what makes the dream work. And I like the fact you said your first step was vision, and that is so true because I know with Aim to Purpose, which is about aspiration, inspiration, motivation, edification, and determination, the elements of that are vision, hope, faith, knowledge, and action. And the first one is vision, because if you don't have a vision, what do you have to work with? And that with that vision, there is responsibility that comes with that vision that causes you to take action in order to move yourself forward. And that will take us to your third step, which is individuals taking responsibility, because we know it is teamwork. However, individuals do have to take responsibility in order to make the process work, as you said. So let's move to that third one, individuals taking responsibility.
For me, when I do the work in the businesses, this is the fun element for me, because what we do here is we generally get people to sort of do their 30-second pitch within the business and what's my role and what am I good at. And what we do is then we define, this is what we did with British Cycling. We said, actually, if you're in what is the 10 qualities within each one of the 4 positions. And then we did a series of tests and say, actually, after each test, we re-evaluated ourselves. So I actually found out by the end of that is actually I know my optimum position within the team pursuit is man 3, then man 1, and man 4, then man 2. I always joke that, you might as well put the mechanic in man 2 than myself, because it's worse position for me by a long, long way. But what we go into businesses is go in and say, actually, what are the 10 key qualities, and then get everybody to assess themselves, and then do a series of activities where actually they, in a controlled and relaxed environment, and actually activities nothing related to their job, is actually use that role. So we may say, actually, a game, let's say build a tower out of a newspaper. And somebody may assess themselves and say, actually, I think I'm the best communicator in this group. So, well, okay, take that role. And what we found is actually what the people think they're good at is actually in reality they're not good at. They're still good at it, but they're stronger in other areas. So after each activity, when people reevaluate themselves, they go up in some areas and go down in some areas. But by the end of that exercise, we actually understand that actually that person may not be, usually a senior manager in the group says they're a great leader. Actually, they've probably got to that point where being maybe more visionary or something like that. So by the end, saying actually at the start, I'm saying, I'm the leader of the group. By the end, he's probably the person who's a bit more reflective. By the end, we actually get through where everybody's skill actually lies. So when we go back to working effectively, then we can actually manage up and pair up the actual roles within the people who are actually best suited into those qualities. And actually what we found within business is actually people have found qualities that they didn't even know about, and actually really, really juggled around it within the business and the organisation of actually where people sit best. So there's got that more buy-in to that vision. More people are then focused on the responsibilities, but more importantly, more people are working a lot more effectively within there.
That's right. Yeah. The more people take that responsibility of doing their work effectively, it makes for a better business, and also the business, you always learn how to be a better business person as you go along. We're never going to know all of the answers beforehand. We always want to know what the next step is going to be, or how we're going to do this, or how we're going to do that. It's a journey of steps to get to that as you're going through these 5 steps here. The individuals are taking their responsibility to work effectively through the process, and the process is through a vision. Set out your vision and develop a phased plan. So all of these are intertwined with each other.
Yeah, they really are.
It builds and builds. In a way, you're in that backwards, but you need to get the vision first, and you need to understand how it works, and then people can actually designate those people into those roles.
That's right.
Exactly what we did at Team Pursuit. I think generally people get that a little bit mixed up, and I think it's quite important to get that phasing in the right way, because then you can move more effectively, and then people get that that buy-in, and they understand what everybody's doing at what times and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how you said we think we know in essence what we don't know about ourselves sometimes. And once we get with other people and we start talking about these things and talking about our roles and our responsibilities, we start learning and we start finding our strengths, and we start realizing we may not be who we thought we were. We may not be that leader. We may not be that visionary. However, each one of us has skills that we can bring to the team to help to make the dream work on the team. And that's really great how you dissect it and analyze that, how when we come to the table and we're discussing it, sometimes we realize, I wasn't as good as that as I thought I was. And you realize, but I'm excellent. I'm brilliant at this, because I know when I was about 12 years old, I knew I had in me some writing skills, and I had the ability to write well. And I knew one day I was going to be an author, and I did fulfill that dream. However, sitting here today in Hollywood, California at Global Voice Broadcasting Radio Network, being a radio host, that was not on my radar at 12. It wasn't even on my radar at 40, actually. And here I am, 64 today. And this is a second career for me, because I've retired after working 32 years for Los Angeles County, and going into that career right out of college. And so, like you said, we really don't know where that journey is going to take us until we start talking about it and we start working with others and connecting, because we really are all connected in some aspect, and we have to support each other, because no one does this alone, and we find each other's skills as we go, and we can utilize and connect that. And with that said, Bryan, before we go to the next number 4, which is focus on the small, controllable gains, we're going to take a commercial break, and then we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about number 4.
So stay right there, and we will be right back.
This edition of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, is brought to you by L. Hicks Consulting Services. When you want the best in business coaching, life coaching, or perhaps your organization, business, or company is in need of a dynamic speaker for an upcoming workshop or seminar, contact Louise Hicks for L. Hicks Consulting Services at 1-562-310-1495. From anywhere around the world, that's 1-562-310-1495. For more information about Louise Hicks and her consulting services, visit her website at www.louisehicks.biz. Again, that's www.louisehicks.biz. Or call 1-562-310-1495. L. Hicks Consulting Services, where professionalism is top priority.
Hello, world. We are back. And again, I am Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose, the radio show, along with my co-host, Kennon Wesley Mason, and we are here talking today. I can't believe how this month has gone by. We only have one more Monday in the month. It's April 20th already. Gosh, the year is just going by so fast.
It is.
But we are talking to our featured guest today, all the way from the UK, Bryan Steel.
Yes.
Olympic medalist,
yes.
Bryan Steel.
4-time Olympian. 2-time consecutive Olympic Games. 14-time world champion. All the great stuff.
Yes. And Bryan, thanks again for joining us and sharing your 5 steps to succeed with our global audience today.
It's okay. It's a pleasure to be here.
Actually, it's tonight over there, huh?
That's it. Yeah. Just evening time at the moment.
Right.
Evening, there you go.
Yeah, so
we're going to move on to number 4 on your 5 steps to achieve excellence. And number 4 is focus on the small, controllable gains.
Yeah, it's something we developed with Dave Brailsford and it's quite well documented with British cycling. We talk about marginal gains, and it's quite famous at the last Olympics. The French complained that our wheels were too round. We'd had a big project to make sure the wheels were really round. The crazy thing is the company that supplied the wheels was French. But Dave talked about, when we talk about the other 3 processes, it's about that constantly reviewing. And especially when we go into businesses, something doesn't work. So we have a saying in the UK, throw the baby out with the bathwater. They just throw everything out and start all over again.
Right.
But actually, when we create what we say our process wheel and our individuals, we create like a wheel. So within the team pursuit, when we do that and something goes wrong, because things go wrong, and life goes wrong, and you're always making mistakes, especially when you're pushing your limits so much, is understanding that. And actually then just being able to break it down and saying, actually, well, the spoke broke at that point. So what went wrong there? Rather than saying, no, it's all gone wrong. It's all a disaster. Let's start again. So what we learn to do within business is constantly reviewing and tweaking and managing and then pushing things forward. So we're always some scope in there. So actually there's some scope so you can make mistakes. And when we complete the first 3 steps, it's open and honest, and as was discussed before, there's good communication pathways. Is when things are always evolving and moving and going forward, but it's not making big changes, it's making little changes. And something that Dave always taught us to do, and we do it a lot in business and my coaching do at the moment, is, well, why do we do this? What are we doing this for? And it's really important to say, actually, well, why do we do this? Well, I don't know why we do this. Well, let's just make a little change here, let's change there. And be constantly asking and reviewing the whole time and saying, what if we just did this or we just did that, what would happen? And it may be a disaster. We don't know. But if we don't try, we don't know. And let's just try but then quite quickly review it. Is it going right? Yes. Okay, well, we can take the positives out of everything and discard the negative. And by then, we can then take another step forward quite quickly.
Right. Yeah, it is good to, people say I'll try almost anything at least once. You have to take that initial step because this is how you learn and develop the understanding of all of these steps, is to take that first step and try the first plan. If it doesn't, if you don't get the results that you're expecting, like they say, if you first don't succeed, you try again.
I used to hate it. Our coach, was 2 things our coach used to say. He used to say, you're always striving for perfection, but actually deep down you know you're never going to get it, because what's today's perfection is tomorrow's weaknesses. Right. So with 2012, the Olympics, he had a strapline in the UK saying, being the best you can be, which came from us. But they didn't say the other half is, be the best you can be. And they used to ask us that question after every big session, have you been your best today? Yes. Right. And the answer was yes. But then the coach would say, well, how could you be better tomorrow? And that's where those small focus areas actually, if I did this here or I did this here, and that is actually, I could be a little bit faster. Yes. So today's perfections is tomorrow's weaknesses. Yes. So it's always asking those questions, always saying, actually, well, I was great today, I was brilliant, I've done my best today, but how could I be better tomorrow? How could I be stronger? How could I be faster? How could I work the track a bit better? How could I use my teammates around me? How could I work my colleagues around me to be better? And always asking that question to be better and better every time.
That's right.
And that is so true. When we ask ourselves, we have to go within. And that's what happens a lot of times when something doesn't turn out the way we planned it or we expect it. We look at it from a negative perspective instead of going within ourselves, asking those important questions, those key questions. Why and what happened, and how can I make this better? How can I do this another way in order to make it work? I mean, you might have to do it 1,000 times, who knows? But the point is, you never give up on who you are. And that's where some people don't succeed, because they don't take these steps and analyze it as you've gone through each one thus far and dissected it and said how each one works and how we work together to bring out the best in each other. And that's what we have to do, because once you get up against a brick wall and you say, oh, well, I'm just going to give up because nothing is going to work out for me. This is just not working. And you don't try something different.
And it's that's what we teach people, and especially within some of the work we do is just, I do a lot of work with not only cyclists but other sports. And it's just saying, well, I don't understand, so explain it to me. And a lot of people can't explain what they do to me. And really that's what we do, and we're just questioning the whole time. But what we found is that these people, well, actually, if you just did this a little bit different, or what about this, or what about that? There's one of the companies we work with in the UK, they're a IT company, and they have problems because they go and pitch, or sales team go in, but they've got no technical advisor within that team. So when they get the contract, the technical advisor goes, actually, we can't do that yet. So all you need to do is actually, okay, well, let's either bring in the sales team a technical advisor, or consult with the technical team before we actually agree to terms and price this. It's only a little thing, and in a way it's an obvious thing, but in day-to-day in business, you don't often think about those things.
So true. We don't sometimes. And to get to that point, we have to think about those things, which will segue us pretty much into your fifth step, which is make time to review, set new goals, and make a new plan. And that's what we have to do instead of giving up and focusing on what has already happened and didn't work. You focus on making time to review and set new goals and make a new plan.
And that's important. The best way we do it, when we do it with schools and education, we call it what we call the block of flats. So when we speak to the young people, we do a lot of reflection work, is building the foundations, because we don't build a house or block of flats on sand, we build it on strong concrete. Then when we talk about the vision, we talk about that's our sun, that's our long-term aspiration. But more importantly, what is your goal for this year, which is seeing yourself stood on the roof. But then what we do is break it down into what we call floors. And what we're talking about here in that fifth set, we just focus on, for example, the ground floor to the first floor, and what are there, what do we do in that time with the process and responsibility and stuff. But the key is to say, actually, I need to put a date into that. So we could say, actually, April the 20th, I'm going to be at that first floor. I'm going to be stood on the first floor. So it's actually saying on the April the 20th or May the 20th, it's saying, actually, I'm going to stop on that day and say, actually, am I here? Because it's important, especially in a sporting context, is actually the weather could have been terrible. You could have been injured. You could have had things that have gone against you. You could have had technical problems. So you don't actually know you're going to get there. So if you don't stop and say, actually, am I where I've said I'm going to be? You never know if you're going to be there or not. And then go for a review process. Actually, yes, I'm here. Brilliant. Okay, what's the next floor? Okay, how much time am I going to give myself? How am I going to get there? And that constant reviewing and going forwards. The important thing is, if you're not there, it's pointless going forwards. So you say, actually, I'm not there. Well, okay, I'm not at that point. Where am I? I'm here. Great. I know where I am now. Okay, what do I need to do? So what we find within business more than education, that these floors move the whole time. Because it's pointless if you've not got to that. If you've not got the first floor, you just miss it. Then you're going to miss the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And before you know it, as you said, your back's against the wall. And you just say, oh, we're just going to give up. So actually, in a way, you're probably lowering your expectations. And sometimes it could be above your expectations. But it's important to know where you are. And it's important. When we do our coaching, cycling and other sports, we only give 3-week programs, because you don't know where you're going to be in 3 weeks' time. You just don't know. You could be fitter than you thought you was. Things could have gone wrong. You could have fell off and broken your leg. You don't know those things. So you need to stop and think all the time in small steps.
Yes, you do. And when you were talking about how you take these steps and you go from floor to floor. It reminded me of when I was building my home from the ground level up. You gotta, first of all, you gotta find the ground. That's your vision. And then once you have that vision in mind of finding where you're gonna build it, you gotta clear it out. And it's kind of like clearing your head so you can be able to focus. And then once I did all of that, you got to lay the foundation. And once the foundation is laid, you first you got to have blueprints. Let's back up a little bit, because you must have a blueprint once you get that vision and what you want. And then you get your blueprints, and you must follow those blueprints, because if you don't follow it, you're not going to have a solid foundation to build that house on. So you must follow the steps of what you have talked about. And it brought back to mind when we were building the house, they had not followed that blueprint. And I came to inspect and look, and I saw where some bricks were up higher than they should have been, and the window wasn't the way it was supposed to be. And I'm looking and I'm saying, something is wrong here, because I knew it didn't look right. And then the builder and I looked at the blueprints, and he said, oh, you're right. They didn't follow this blueprint. So we didn't get the result and the outcome that we were expecting. So we had to go back and review that. And that's part of the plan. Once we laid those plans out, you have to inspect and review. And if it doesn't turn out the way according to your blueprint that you've set out, you must start and rethink what you've done and do it again and do it with a different result. So that's beautiful, the way you've laid out these steps.
Thank you. And what we found with that is actually people just stopping. There's so many large corporations that we've worked with. You have away days, you have a 3 days sessions, and we've gone in and they've done the 4 steps, but they've not put in there when the review. So, okay, when we're going to, next year when we do this again, well, you need to micromanage it smaller than that. You need to have each part of that. What we've done with large organisations is, when we talk about the effective process, is actually each one of those is a separate team, and you have to develop that internally. So then everybody can come together and talk where they are, what they need to do, what needs to change, and what in other departments things need to change, so they can work effectively and carry on. And this process and this wheel is constantly evolving and constantly moving forward and constantly growing. And then you're able to grow and you can work 100% effectively.
Yes.
I agree 100%. Just like you said earlier, in the last few minutes that we have here on the show, because even here in the States, our Department of Education system teaches us absolutely nothing on how to develop and run a business effectively and efficiently. So I think it's great that you have this program that you're presenting to a younger generation that may not get this type of education in their formal schooling.
I think it's really important, and as I said, when we work in business, we do it in one way. But when we work in schools, we just create a block of flats. The young people create their block of flats and say, actually, what's your goal for this year, and how do you break it down? But you go, we actually now work with teachers and teach teachers to do this. So they sit down with their young people every so often, every month, and say, actually, oh yeah, that floor, great. Okay, what's the next floor? Or no, okay, what's gone so wrong? And what we learn is actually then they're in small achievable chunks, so they can actually be evolving and learning and moving forward the whole time, rather than going backwards or just stopping altogether.
And that's great what you said, and what Ken just said, my son Ken just said about the educational system here in the States. It is so true, because kids are coming out of high school and they don't even know what a credit score is. Many of them, they don't know the first thing about the steps you've just gone through, how to build a business, how to even write a resume sometimes. And I don't know how your educational system ranks, but I know in the United States, our educational system, to be a civilized country, we ranked so low. I think we're close to 40 in terms of the educational academic system here in America to other parts of the world, other countries, which is really pathetic when you think about it, because we are hurting not only our future generation, but we are hurting ourselves now. And we wonder why we have so much chaos here in America. A lot of it has to do with the lack of education and the lack of understanding of each other and helping each other to expand their knowledge and to have an understanding of how business work and how we are all connected for the betterment and the sustainability of our planet, no matter where we live. And that's something we should be focusing on. And when you bring all these 5 steps together, it really boils down to just that, is sustainability of the world. And we can go back through them one by one quickly. Set out your vision and develop a phased plan. The next one, understand the process of working effectively. The next one, individuals taking responsibility. And the next one, focus on the small controllable gains. And the next one, make time to review, set new goals, and make a new plan. And what if our educational system was really teaching our young people and educating them based on these vital points that you've made and have gone through and articulated so refinedly to help us to understand how business really works and how we have to work together as a team for the sake of humanity. And with that said, Bryan, we really thank you. We want you to have some final thoughts on what you've said. And just one question I'd like to ask you, Ken may have another one too. What advice as a coach, because I know you are a facilitator, you're a speaker, you're a coach. As a coach, what advice would you give anyone, just not young people, on how to utilize these business skills in order to succeed in life and move themselves forward and work to achieve their highest calling and transform their lives?
I don't know if it's the same in the US, but definitely in the UK. I don't think people set their aspirations high enough. You know, we talk to people and they go, "Oh, I would like to do this," and especially with the young people, you know, like, I'd like to do. Well, no, dream it. You know, I always say, if you dream it, you'll believe it, and if you believe it, you'll achieve it. And it's important. You set your aspirations high, set that vision high. You know, when people laughed at us when we said, actually, in 4 years' time, we're going to win an Olympic bronze medal. Well, that was our vision. We dreamed it, and we always dreamed it. But actually, we believed in it then because we had that vision. And then we, was able to achieve it in 4 years, turn that round. So I'd say to anybody, find an opportunity. If you've always wanted to do something, then do it. Find a way of doing it. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to drop everything today and do this. But have that vision and then find. And with these 5 steps, we can get people personally or large organisations say, actually, we're going to do this. And actually, this is how we're going to do it. And then why are we going to do it? And actually, in the long term, we'll achieve it.
Awesome. Bryan, give us a website or a phone number where you can be contacted if someone wants to participate in your sessions that you have here.
Probably best is if I give you my website, which is Bryan Steel, www.bryansteel. The Bryan is spelled with a Y, so it's BRYANSTEEL.co.uk. Anybody can contact me through there. With Twitter, I'm on Twitter. Bryan, again, with the Y, _Steel. And again, people can contact me through there. Also on Facebook, again, it's just Bryan Steel. But I'd love to speak to anybody over there. Hopefully later this year in the autumn, I'm coming over and to do some talks and some workshops. But if anybody's keen to talk or keen to have a conversation, then I'd love to get in touch with people over in America.
That'll be perfect.
That's perfect and great. And I'd just like to quote something here from one of I believe this is a teacher, Craig, head of PE, Helena Romaine School. Is that correct, Bryan?
Yeah.
Okay. It's something that you had gone and done a talk there, and it says here, the children left thoroughly inspired I was even teaching a careers lesson the next day, and a couple of pupils that were there put their hands up and said they wanted to become cyclists and win at the Olympics. So, I mean, that tells that you are really inspiring. You're transforming young minds to believe in themselves. Like you said, if you believe it, you'll can achieve it. And all it takes is the action. You're getting the knowledge, you take the action and move forward. You are inspiring these young people to want to be cyclists. And what did you say about how you were educated again? Just repeat that, because that's awesome.
Degree in life skills. So it's funny because I came out of education with no qualifications at all. But 2 years ago I was given an honorary degree from Nottingham, where my hometown is, and my dad said to me that that's your degree in life, and I always remember that. And I think it's important, you know, it's not just about education, it's about being a whole-rounded person, and not only as a young person, as a whole person, and doing some, you know, it's not about making money, it's about, you know, being a whole-rounded person and spending time and being a good citizen, really.
That's
Absolutely, right. And having integrity and character, and the money will automatically follow anyhow. When you focus on the money, that's a problem. You focus on humanity, integrity, and character, the money will automatically follow. And with that said, you have anything else to say, Ken?
No, I'm good. I just want to thank you, Bryan Steel, for being our guest here on Aim to Purpose, the radio show, and hopefully we can do it again.
Okay, I've loved it very much. Thank you for talking to you guys. Thank you for taking the time, and hopefully we can meet in person very soon.
Absolutely.
I hope so. Would love that. And thanks a lot, Bryan. And thanks to our global audience again for tuning in and being supportive of us every week. And you can find me on Facebook at Louise Hicks 51. Also on our radio, our YouTube channel, Aim to Purpose Radio, as well as Instagram, Aim to Purpose, as well as Twitter at Aim to Purpose. You can find us all over social media. So just join us, Kennon Wesley Mason, on Facebook.
Yes, you can join me on Facebook. There's many articles and pieces, personal articles that I've written. So definitely check that out. And with that being said, as we always end the show,
remember now, your power lies within you. Let it loose. Until next week.